She was investigating a murder. Then she vanished. The last file she recorded just went live. The last broadcast, Chapter 1, Static. The voicemail came just after midnight. Helena Monroe was halfway through organizing an old case file when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Normally she'd let it go, but something, call it instinct, made her swipe it open. The message began immediately. "Ms. Monroe, I need help. I think someone's following me." The voice was female, shaky, familiar. "I've been working on the Avery Locke case. You remember him, right? Everyone thinks he's guilty, but it doesn't add up. I think I found something. Real proof. I'll send you everything. Please call me back. Please." There was a pause, a breath, then something faint, shuffling, a creaking door, a whisper. The message cut off in a burst of static. Helena played it again. Marley Quinn. That's who it was. She remembered Marley as the brash, fast-talking true crime podcaster who once cornered her at a conference with a mic and a barrage of questions. She had made a name for herself, dissecting controversial trials and disappearances, speaking in clipped, confident phrases with an undercurrent of fury. Now her voice was cracked with fear. The Avery Locke case. That hadn't crossed Helena's mind in years. Locke had been a respected teacher before he was convicted of murdering one of his students. A 16-year-old girl named Emily Reyes. The case had been rushed. Media pressure, political heat, and a grieving family. A conviction without a body. Only blood and a pile of circumstantial evidence. Locke had always claimed innocence, but the world had moved on, until now. Helena sat down at her desk, her mind spinning. She opened her laptop. Marley had sent an email 30 minutes after the voicemail. No body text, just a subject line. "If anything happens to me, start here." Attached, a password-protected zip file named Locke Docs. She tried a few obvious combinations. Marley's podcast name, her birth year. Nothing worked. She called a cybercrime contact from her FBI days, a night owl named Max, who owed her a favor. He said he'd call back in an hour. While she waited, Helena searched Marley's podcast. The latest episode, Wrong Man Walking, had aired 5 days earlier. It was a 32-minute monologue about inconsistencies in Locke's conviction, lost timelines, untested evidence, and a sealed civil suit no one seemed to mention. But something about Marley's voice stood out. Normally clear and decisive, it faltered in places. Pauses too long to be editing choices. Words carefully measured, like someone else was listening in. At the end of the episode, she had promised a follow-up. Next week, the surprise witness you never heard from, but that episode never aired. Max called back. Password was too simple, he said. Her cat's name plus the year she started the podcast. "I'm in. Sending you a decrypted folder now." A minute later, Helena opened it. Dozens of documents, interviews, transcripts, clippings. One folder was labeled Interviews Raw. Inside, a file stood out. Interview 27, do not air MP3. She clicked play. "Off the record, okay? If anyone finds out I talked to you, it's over for me. You think Locke was framed? Try asking who benefited from him going away. Start with the girl's stepfather. Wait, what was that? Did you hear that?" A loud bang, a breath, then silence. Helena froze. The file ended there. She reached for her phone again, dialing Marley's number. Straight to voicemail. She called twice more. No answer. Then she tried the podcast studio's main line. "Marley?" the receptionist repeated. "We haven't heard from her in a few days. She's missed 2 deadlines, didn't show up to record. Not like her." Helena's heart sank. She hung up and opened a fresh notepad, jotting the steps. First, confirm Marley's last known location. Second, identify the interviewee from file 27. Third, dig into the Reyes family, especially the stepfather. Helena had no proof that Marley had been taken. Not yet. But experience had taught her that people didn't vanish mid-investigation unless someone wanted them silenced. Marley had been tracing something rotten enough to scare her. Now Helena was the only one holding the thread, and someone might already know she was pulling it. Chapter 2. Deleted Files. Helena stood in the center of Marley Quinn's apartment, the scent of stale coffee and dusty books lingering in the air. The blinds were drawn, casting the living room in a dim, static grey. A half-drunk mug sat beside a closed laptop. Nothing looked obviously disturbed. No signs of forced entry, no blood, no overturned furniture. But something was off. It was too quiet, too still. She moved carefully through the space, observing. A jacket still hung by the door. Marley's keys sat in a bowl on the counter. Her wallet was on the table. She hadn't left voluntarily. Helena checked the recording device in her coat pocket. Still on. She liked to document her own observations verbally, a habit left over from her FBI days. No sign of a struggle. No sign she packed for a trip. Keys and ID are still here. Either she was taken by someone she trusted, or someone skilled. In the corner, a corkboard was covered in printed emails, news clippings, and note cards connected by string. Red circles and highlighter ink marked a chaotic network of people and dates. At the center, Avery Locke and a photo of the victim, Emily Reyes, age 16. A smiling, dimpled teenager whose body was found in a drainage culvert just outside of town, her hair still braided from cheerleading practice, her throat cut with surgical precision. Marley had clearly gone deep. Helena snapped a few photos. One name popped up repeatedly. Darren Mills, Emily's stepfather. A prominent local contractor who'd testified during Locke's trial. He seemed too rehearsed, Marley had noted in one scribbled margin. Helena moved into the bedroom. A laptop was open on the desk. She wiggled the mouse, password protected, but near the keyboard was a sticky note. Marley 1987. Not subtle, but maybe. She typed it in. It worked. Her breath caught. The desktop was nearly empty. Just a folder labelled Projects and another labelled Temp. She opened Temp and found a single file, EP8 script, docx. Episode 8, the one that never aired. Helena scrolled. They want you to think this ends with Avery Locke, that it was just a disgraced teacher and a tragedy. But that's not the whole story. There's a second witness. There's a cover-up. And if I disappear before this goes live, someone else needs to ask. Why was Darren Mills never investigated? Helena saved the file to her drive. She needed to get this backed up before someone else made it vanish. Her phone buzzed. A text from Detective Oscar Reed. Checked Marley's phone records. Last call she made, landline to a law office. No message left. Sent you the number. Helena knew Oscar from a previous case. He was one of the few detectives who didn't roll their eyes at her instincts, even if he didn't say it out loud. She dialed the number. A woman answered. This is Winslow and Hart Legal. Helena identified herself. There was a pause. I'm not supposed to speak to anyone about Ms. Quinn. She requested confidentiality. She's missing. Silence again. Then finally. She contacted us about a sealed settlement involving the Reyes family. She was trying to subpoena documents. Said something was buried in the original civil case. Helena's mind raced. A settlement? Most people forgot that long before the trial, Emily's mother had sued the school board for negligence. then quietly dropped the case after a payout. "What kind of documents?" Helena asked. But the voice on the other end hesitated. "I shouldn't say more over the phone." Helena hung up. She needed to see that settlement. She stepped back into the living room and surveyed the wall of notes again. In the far corner was a list of names under a heading that said, "Outliers, interviewed, but unused." Helena read them one by one until one stuck out. Talia Nguyen, Emily's best friend, notes beside it read, "Said she wasn't home the night of the murder, but her story has holes, recorded, then cut. Too risky or scared?" She checked the timestamp on Marley's interview 27, the file labelled "Do Not Air." It matched. Talia was the anonymous source. Helena opened her notebook, jotting the connection. But before she could finish, something strange happened. The screen on Marley's laptop flickered. Then the screen went black. A new file popped up briefly before disappearing. Locked door audio. Helena froze. She hadn't touched anything. She opened the file history. It was gone. Deleted. Remotely. Someone else was watching. Chapter 3. The Girl Who Knew Too Much. The soft whir of the laptop fan was the only sound left in the room. Helena sat motionless, eyes fixed on the now blank screen. Someone had accessed Marley's computer remotely, deleted a file she hadn't opened. They'd been watching maybe for days, maybe right now. She unplugged the machine and shut the lid. Whoever they were careful. But they'd made one mistake, acting while Helena was still inside. She slipped the laptop into a padded messenger bag. It was evidence now of a breach, of surveillance, of someone willing to erase digital footprints in real time. She scanned the room one last time, then stepped into the hallway and locked the door behind her. Back in her car, she reviewed her notes. Talia Gwen. Marley's interview 27. The girl with holes in her story. Marley had cut the interview from the final episode, maybe out of fear, maybe out of a promise to protect her. Either way, Talia was the next lead. A quick search showed Talia still lived in the area, 22 now, working at a juice bar on the east side of the city. Helena drove across town, mind spinning the whole way. What had Talia said that scared Marley? And what had someone been willing to erase to keep Helena from hearing it again? The bell above the door jingled as Helena stepped into the smoothie shop. Bright colours, loud music, cheerful staff. It felt like the last place someone haunted by murder would choose to spend 8 hours a day. Talia Gwen stood behind the counter, tying her apron. She hadn't noticed Helena yet. Helena observed the girl's posture-tense shoulders, stiff jaw. Her smile came too quickly when a customer approached. Polite, controlled, practiced. When the shop cleared out, Helena stepped forward. "Talia?" The girl turned, startled. "Yeah? My name's Helena Monroe. I'm looking into what happened to Marley Quinn. You spoke to her, didn't you?" Talia's face drained of colour. "I don't know what you mean." Helena gently placed a card on the counter. "You do. You were interview 27, the one she didn't air." Talia looked around the shop. Then she whispered, "You can't be here, I'm working." "Then meet me after. 1 hour. I'll wait out front." Talia hesitated, her eyes flitting toward a small security camera in the corner. "I don't know anything," she said flatly, louder this time. Then she turned and disappeared into the back room. Helena left, but she didn't go far. She sat in her car across the street, watching the entrance. 58 minutes later, Talia emerged. She didn't look at Helena, just started walking. Helena followed on foot, keeping her distance, until Talia ducked into a quiet neighborhood park and sat down at a bench near the basketball court. Only then did Helena approach. "You think someone's watching you?" Helena said. Talia's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. Was it something you told Marley? Helena asked. Another nod. I didn't think it mattered at first, Talia said, voice shaking. I didn't even tell the police. But Marley... She listened. And then she started asking the wrong people the right questions. What did you see, Talia? I didn't tell the truth. That night, Emily was supposed to come over to my place, hang out. But she never showed. I said I was home all night, but I wasn't. Where were you? I followed her. Helena blinked. Why? I thought she was lying to me. I thought she was sneaking around with someone. I was jealous. Was she? Talia nodded slowly. She was seeing someone older, someone married. I only saw him from a distance. He picked her up in a black car. But I recognized his voice later. Helena's pulse quickened. Who was it? I didn't know his name, not then. But when Marley played me a clip from the trial, his testimony I knew. It was Darren Mills, Emily's stepfather, the same man Marley had flagged on her board. Did you tell Marley that? Talia nodded again. She told me to stay quiet until she had more proof. She promised to protect me, and then she disappeared. Talia wiped her eyes. You can't tell anyone I talked to you. Please. I won't, Helena said. Not yet, but I need more. Did Marley have anything else on Mills? Talia looked around nervously. She said there was a settlement, some kind of payout to Emily's mom after the school got sued. She thought Mills forced her to settle to cover something up. Helena remembered the lawyer's vague warning, a sealed case, a buried document, and now a second girl terrified into silence. Talia stood. I can't talk anymore. I've already said too much. Wait, Helena said, but Talia was already walking away. Helena pulled out her phone. Read, she said when the detective picked up. I need everything you can dig up on Darren Mills, especially anything tied to a sealed civil suit filed after Emily Reyes died. There was a pause. Then Oscar Reed said, You'd better come in. Helena's stomach turned. Why? Because we just found Marley Quinn's car. Doors locked, engine cold. But her purse was inside. He paused. And blood on the steering wheel. Chapter 4. The car. Helena pulled into the parking lot of a shuttered gas station, the kind with sun-faded signage and boarded-up windows. Crime scene tape flapped in the breeze. 2 squad cars idled by the curb. Detective Oscar Reed stood beside a silver compact sedan, arms folded, expression tight. It was Marley's car. He met Helena's eyes as she stepped out of her vehicle. We secured the scene 20 minutes ago, he said. No signs of forced entry, no damage to the locks. It was like someone parked it here, cleaned up, and walked away. Helena moved closer. The windows were rolled up, the interior visible under the midday sun. A purse on the passenger seat, a cell phone in the cup holder, a jacket tossed carelessly in the back, and on the steering wheel a dark smear, dried but unmistakable. Confirmed as blood? She asked quietly. Reed nodded. Lab's running a sample, but odds are high it's Marley's. Helena stared through the windshield. Something about the positioning struck her. The car was clean, but not too clean. The blood wasn't wiped away, just left there like a message. She circled to the rear. The trunk was closed, but Reed had already popped it. Empty. No sign of personal belongings, no tools, no emergency supplies. Just the hollow echo of absence. I don't think this is where it happened, she murmured. Reed followed her line of thought. You think she was moved? Helena nodded. Or whoever drove the car here wanted us to believe she wasn't. Either way, it's a drop site, not a crime scene. Reed exhaled, pulling out his notepad. There's a camera across the street. We're pulling the footage now, but the place hasn't operated in years. No staff, no alarm systems. Whoever did this picked it for a reason. Helena's thoughts were already moving ahead. The voicemail, the encrypted files, the missing interview. And now, a car with just enough blood to prove Marley had been hurt, but not enough to prove she was dead. It felt orchestrated. "I need to know more about the Reyes settlement," she said. "Talia thinks Darren Mills forced it, used it to bury something." Reed scribbled a note. "I've got a request into family court records. If it's sealed, it'll take time." Helena didn't wait. "Unseal it, or find someone with the clearance who owes you a favor." Reed raised a brow. "You still don't have a badge, Monroe." "No," she said. "But I'm the one who listened when Marley begged for help." Reed studied her for a moment, then gave a reluctant nod. "I'll see what I can do." As the forensics team arrived, Helena stepped away, dialing Max again. "You still have the folder Marley sent?" she asked. "Of course," Max replied. "Why?" "There was a file that disappeared right in front of me. Something called locked door audio. I want to know what it was and how it got deleted." "I'll check the metadata," Max said. "If someone accessed it remotely, I might be able to trace the IP. No promises." Helena hung up and returned to her car. She drove in silence, fingers tapping the steering wheel. Her mind replayed the details, the hidden witness, the settlement, the vanishing file. But one thing stood out. Why leave the car at all? Why not destroy it? The answer came like a whisper. Because someone wanted it found. The blood wasn't just evidence, it was bait. She didn't like that feeling. She was being pulled into a maze someone else had built, and they knew exactly which breadcrumb to leave next. That night, sleep came in fragments. Her dreams were hazy but unsettling. She was in a hallway, fluorescent lights buzzing above. Doors lined each side, each with a number, none labelled. At the end was a locked door with red light leaking out underneath. She moved closer. A muffled voice whispered her name, then a click. The door swung open. Inside, only static. A wall of screens. Marley's face flickered across them, her mouth open in mid-scream, but no sound came out. Helena jolted awake. The clock read 3:12 a.m. She sat up, heart racing, static, screens, a red-lit door. She grabbed her notebook and sketched the image before it faded. She didn't trust dreams, not completely, but too often they filtered truths her conscious mind missed. She circled the word static, then added two more. Watching, listening. If someone had access to Marley's files, if they knew what she'd uncovered, they might not be after a cover-up. They might be after whoever Marley talked to, and Talia Gwen was at the top of that list. Helena reached for her phone. It was time to make sure Talia was still alive. Chapter 5. Erased. Helena pressed the call button for Talia Gwen's number. It rang once, then again, then voicemail. She didn't leave a message. Instead, she scrolled through her notes for the smoothie shop's number and dialed. A tired voice answered on the third ring. "Juice Haven, this is Zoe. Hi. I'm trying to reach one of your employees, Talia Gwen. She was working earlier today." A pause. "Talia didn't show up for her shift. First time she's ever been a no-call, no-show." Helena's stomach sank. "Do you have an emergency contact on file for her?" "Not that I can share, sorry. Policy." Helena lowered her voice. "She may be in danger. I'm working on a case involving someone she spoke to recently. Please, I need to know where she lives." The girl on the other end hesitated. "Are you with the police?" "No," Helena said truthfully. "But they'll be calling soon. I promise you that." Silence again. Then, "She mentioned something weird last week. Said if she didn't show up for work, Someone should look under the mailbox. Helena blinked. Which mailbox? Her apartment building, I guess. I don't know the address, but she said it was the old red brick place behind the library, near 12th and Main. Helena was already in the car by the time she hung up. The apartment building looked like it hadn't been updated since the 70s. Cracked stucco, chipped window frames, and a rusted fire escape dangling like a crooked ladder. The mailboxes were mounted in the foyer behind a dusty pane of glass. She pried open the panel for Unit 2C. Inside was an envelope. No name, just the words. If she comes looking, give her this. Helena opened it. A flash drive. She returned to her car and plugged it into her laptop. 2 files. One was a voice memo. Talia's voice shaking. If you're hearing this, something's wrong. I didn't know who else to trust. Marley told me to keep this separate. She said she was going to use it in the final episode, but it was too dangerous to send online. It's from the original settlement file. Marley got it from a leak in the courthouse. It shows that Darren Mills was under investigation for inappropriate conduct with a student years before Emily. It got buried as part of the school's deal with her mother. That's why she settled. She was pressured into silence. Helena stared at the screen, breath caught in her throat. The second file was a scan of a legal document, sealed, confidential. But there it was, subject of prior internal complaint involving minor, and beneath it, in faint pencil, record expunged after settlement. Helena read the document 3 times. It wasn't just circumstantial. It was motive. Darren Mills had a reason to silence Emily Reyes. And if Marley had uncovered that, if she had been planning to expose it publicly, it would make her a threat, one someone had reason to eliminate. Helena checked the document's metadata. Date stamped 3 weeks earlier. Created by a file scanner, then renamed by hand. It wasn't fake, and Talia had kept it hidden, like Marley told her to. Helena called Reed. "You're going to want to sit down," she said. She relayed the voice memo and forwarded the file. He didn't speak for several seconds. "This changes everything," he finally said. "If that document's real, it means the school board suppressed a predatory investigation to protect itself and pushed the mother to settle. Mills walks, and Emily ends up dead. And Marley tried to bring it all back to light," Helena added, "which makes her more than just missing," Reed said. "It makes her dangerous to someone with deep pockets and a lot to lose." "I'm going back to the Reyes family," Helena said. "I want to talk to the mother again. She's barely spoken to anyone since the trial. Then maybe it's time someone asked her the right questions." The Reyes house sat at the edge of a cul-de-sac, its lawn brown and patchy, a wilted wreath still hanging on the door from last winter. Helena rang the bell. A moment later, the door cracked open. A woman in her late 40s peered out, eyes rimmed with shadows. "Mrs. Reyes?" Helena asked softly. The woman didn't speak. "My name is Helena Monroe. I'm investigating Marley Quinn's disappearance. She was working on your daughter's case." Mrs. Reyes flinched. "I need to ask you about the settlement, about Darren Mills, about what really happened after Emily died." Tears welled up in the woman's eyes, but she didn't close the door. "She promised me she'd tell the truth," Mrs. Reyes whispered. "Now she's gone too." Helena stepped forward. "I'm not." The woman opened the door wider, and somewhere, across town, a black SUV idled near Talia Guyan's apartment building, waiting. Chapter 6. The Mother's Silence. The Reyes' living room was dimly lit, thick with the quiet weight of grief that never really left. Helena sat across from Evelyn Reyes, who clutched a tissue like a lifeline, fingers trembling. A faded photo of Emily sat on the mantel, her in a cheer uniform, mid-laugh, sunshine in her eyes. Helena waited, let the silence do the work. Finally, Evelyn broke it. "They told me if I kept quiet, Emily's memory would stay clean, that the school would honor her with dignity, that it was better not to open old wounds. "You were threatened," Helena said softly. Evelyn looked up, eyes shining. "They didn't have to use the word. They just reminded me I had no legal grounds once I settled, that I'd agreed to confidentiality, that the media would twist it into something ugly." "What about Darren Mills?" Helena asked. "Did you suspect him?" The woman flinched. He was never the same with her. Distant, possessive. I thought he was just strict. But Emily, she started avoiding him. She'd lock her bedroom door at night. She asked to move in with my sister. You didn't think that was strange? I was exhausted, working double shifts, trying to hold the house together. I thought it was teenage drama. But then she was gone. Helena let the pause stretch. Evelyn stared at the floor. I didn't read the final version of the settlement. My lawyer said it was standard. I didn't know they buried the investigation. I didn't know they erased everything. You do now. Evelyn nodded, then looked Helena in the eye. Do you think he killed her? I think Marley Quinn thought so. And now Marley is missing. Evelyn swallowed. I should have done more. You still can. I need you to sign a statement confirming you were pressured into silence, that you were never informed about the contents of the sealed report. Her hand trembled as she reached for the pen. I'm scared, she whispered. Helena's voice was steady. So is Talia Gwen, and she's already running out of time. Back in the car, Helena called Reed and told him about the affidavit. She's willing to testify, Helena said, as long as she gets protection. Reed whistled low. This case just got explosive. Then let's light the fuse, Helena replied. Any luck with the courthouse records? We confirmed the document. The original was filed, sealed, and then quietly misplaced during a digital migration 2 years ago. But someone left the paper copy in a storage vault. It's legit. What about Mills? He hasn't shown up at work in 2 days. Phone's off. We're trying to trace him. Helena rubbed her temple. Then we need to move faster. If he knows we're coming, he may already be running, or worse, cleaning up loose ends. She pulled up Talia's address and hit the gas. The door to Talia's building was ajar. That alone made Helena uneasy. Inside, the hallway reeked of mildew and damp carpet. She climbed the stairs to the second floor, every step heavy with dread. Apartment 2C's door was cracked open just slightly enough to suggest it hadn't been shut properly, or had been forced, then pulled closed again. Helena drew her small flashlight and nudged the door open. The apartment was dark, but not empty. A bag was overturned on the floor. A smoothie uniform crumpled in the corner. A broken phone lay beside the couch, screen shattered like a spider web. No sign of Talia. Helena scanned the room. There, a drawer slightly open. Inside, a tiny recording device, its battery drained. She pocketed it and stepped back into the hall, pulling out her phone. She's gone, she told Reed. Someone got here first. Damn it. Put out a notice. Missing person. Use her work photo. And get someone on the traffic cam see if a black SUV pulled out in the last 2 hours. Helena's voice had sharpened. The old profiler instincts were kicking in. She turned toward the stairwell and froze. Someone was standing at the bottom. A man in a black jacket, holding a clipboard. Too clean cut for a delivery guy. Too calm for a neighbor. Their eyes met. Then he bolted. Helena ran after him, down the stairs, through the front entrance, out onto the street. But he was already gone. No vehicle? No sound? Just an empty sidewalk and the roar of a distant truck. She stood there for a long moment, breathing hard, heart pounding. Then she looked down. At her feet was a single torn paper scrap. Scrawled across it in shaky writing. She found the room. Helena bent to pick it up. She knew what it meant. Marley Quinn had discovered something. Now Helena had to find it before someone else made her disappear too. Chapter 7. The Room. Helena returned to her office just before midnight, the city glowing outside her window in shades of sodium orange and pale blue. Her desk was covered with notes maps, names, timelines, but her eyes were fixed on one phrase, now circled in red ink. She found the room. She played the Interview 27 audio again, focusing this time not on what was said, but what was in the background. At the very end of the file, right before the thud and silence, there was something, a tone, barely audible, like an elevator chime. She amplified the audio, filtered out the voice, and isolated the tone. Her ears picked up on something else, too. A faint whoosh of hydraulics, followed by a hum. It wasn't just an elevator. It was industrial. Not in a house, not in a regular apartment. A service elevator, maybe. A freight lift. She cross-referenced Marley's movements from phone GPS logs Reed had pulled, tracking her last few known locations. One stood out. A warehouse building just south of the river. Helena leaned back. It had been condemned years ago after a structural fire, but someone had been using it recently. The signal from Marley's phone had lingered there for 40 minutes, 2 nights before she disappeared. She found the room. And maybe. She never left it. The warehouse loomed in the dark like a skeletal beast, black windows glinting with the reflection of her headlights. Helena parked a block away, double-checked her phone's flashlight, and pocketed a small folding knife. She didn't believe in rushing headfirst into danger, but she also didn't believe in ignoring the truth when it clawed at your door. She found a side entrance chained shut, but loose at the base. She crouched and slipped through. Inside, it smelled like ash and metal and long-forgotten dust. The beam from her flashlight caught rusted support beams and cracked concrete. Some rooms had partially collapsed, the floor eaten away. She moved carefully, remembering the freight sounds from the audio. Down one corridor, she found an old service elevator. The panel was dead, but beside it, a door led to a stairwell. She followed the stairs down, each step echoing like a drumbeat. At the basement level, she found it. A door, painted black. No label. No handle, just a lock and keypad. And blood. Just a smear. Faint. But real. She crouched and studied the door. The keypad's surface was worn. 4 digits. No power. She stood, heart pounding. Behind this door was the room. The one Marley had mentioned. The one she had feared. The one she had never gotten to explain. Helena stepped back and began scanning the surrounding walls. Dusty footprints led toward the corner, then disappeared into a patch of smooth concrete. A power box was half open, wires still warm to the touch. Someone had been here recently. She reached for her phone, intending to take photos, then stopped. A sound. Behind the door. A scraping. Then a faint, rhythmic tapping. Helena's blood ran cold. It wasn't wind. Someone was on the other side. She stepped back. The keypad wasn't functional. The hinges were reinforced. She couldn't break in alone. And if she tried, she'd risk destroying the only proof Marley might have left. She turned and climbed the stairs as fast as she dared, slipping out the same side door, her pulse racing. Back in her car, she called Reed. "I found it," she said. "Found what?" "The room. In the Riverbend warehouse." "Jesus. Are you inside?" No, it's locked. But someone's in there, Oscar. Alive. I think it's Talia. Or, God help me, Marley. Silence. Okay, Reed said. Stay there. I'll get a team. No, Helena said. I'm leaving. If they see me waiting, they'll vanish before you arrive. Just move fast. Quiet. No sirens. She gave him the exact location and hung up. For the first time since the case started, Helena felt the chilling certainty of it. She was being watched. Not just digitally. Someone had eyes on her movements, on her progress. She felt it in her bones. And the message was clear. Stop looking. But Helena had never taken kindly to threats. She didn't go home. She drove to a gas station parking lot and sat with her engine off, watching the door, waiting for the text from Reed. At 2:08 a.m., her phone buzzed. We're in! Door was sealed from outside. One female alive. It's Talia. Weak but talking. She said, They kept me quiet in the room. Helena exhaled sharply, heart thudding. Then another text followed. No sign of Marley. But we found blood and a recording device. Helena stared out into the night. She had found the room. Now she had to find the one person still missing, and the one man who had built this house of silence. Chapter 8. The Voice. Talia Gwen was pale, dehydrated, and wrapped in 2 wool blankets when Helena arrived at the hospital. She looked younger than 22 now, her voice raspy and movements cautious, like the shadows might still reach for her. She glanced up as Helena stepped into the room. I thought I was going to die down there. Helena sat beside the bed. You're safe now, but I need you to tell me everything. From the beginning. Talia hesitated. They came for me 2 nights ago, right after you visited the shop. Who's they? I don't know their names, just that they wore gloves, moved fast. They injected something in my neck. Next thing I knew, I was in that room. Concrete walls, no windows. They didn't talk, didn't ask questions, just kept the lights on day and night, and played. The recording. Helena frowned. What recording? Talia's lips parted in a trembling breath. Of Marley, begging, then screaming, then just silence. Helena sat very still. They played that for you? Talia nodded. Over and over, like they wanted me to hear what happens to people who talk. Helena's throat tightened. What else did you hear? There was a voice. A man. Calm. Said I was just collateral damage, that I should have stayed quiet. Helena clenched her fists. Did you recognize it? Talia shook her head. I think they used a voice modulator, but his rhythm, the way he paused, it felt familiar. Helena jotted that down. Voice patterns could be just as revealing as content. Talia reached toward the tray beside her. Before they locked me in, I had my phone. I recorded one of their conversations by accident. I hit record when I was trying to dial 911. She handed over a cracked device, its screen barely hanging on. Helena took it carefully. You're sure it recorded something? I heard 2 men talking. One said, It's handled. She won't be found. The other laughed. Helena left the hospital and headed straight to Reed's office. He was reviewing the forensic reports from the warehouse when she walked in. You're not going to like this, he said. Try me. He handed her a folder. Blood found at the scene 2 sources. One is Talia's, the other, Marley Quinn. Helena's breath caught. She was there? Definitely, but no body. No signs of a struggle either, which means she either left, or was taken somewhere else, or she's dead, and they disposed of her. Reed grimaced. We found a wire recorder in a back room. No prints. Old-school analog tech, designed to avoid digital trace. What was on it? He reached for an audio player and pressed play. At first, static. Then, "You think exposing me will fix it? People like you are always looking for villains, for neat endings. But sometimes there's just damage." A woman's voice, frantic. Marley's, "You can't silence everyone." The man, "I don't need to. Just the ones who don't know when to stop." Then a loud mechanical hum like a generator and Marley's final words, "You'll be exposed." The tape ended with a sharp click. Helena sat in silence. "That voice," she said. "He's not angry. He's in control. He thinks he's justified." Reed nodded. "We ran the speech cadence through a pattern matcher. Want to guess who it matches? Darren Mills. 89% probability. The pitch is filtered, but the cadence and inflection patterns line up. So he's alive, and in hiding, or being hidden, by someone with resources." Helena leaned forward. "We need to find the original source of that settlement file, the one Marley got from the courthouse. If there's a leak in the legal system, they might know who tried to bury Mills's past." Reed opened a drawer and pulled out a sticky note. "Already ahead of you? Marley's metadata had an IP address. Belongs to a freelance paralegal named June Heller. Works remote. She's been unreachable since yesterday." Helena felt a pulse of dread. "You think she's next?" "I think she already was." Helena drove out to June Heller's address, an old walk-up above a coffee shop. She knocked. No answer. She tried the door. Unlocked. Inside, the apartment looked recently vacated, coffee still warm, laptop open. But the screen displayed nothing but a blinking cursor and a single prompt. "File corrupted. Restart?" Helena scanned the room. No signs of struggle, just absence. Too neat. She walked to the desk and lifted the laptop. Beneath it, a sticky note. "Truth has a price. You still want it?" Helena stared. She wasn't chasing a trail anymore. She was following a trap someone wanted her to walk straight into. Chapter 9. Missing Pieces. The wind whipped down the alleyway behind June Heller's apartment, catching the edge of the sticky note in Helena's fingers. She read it again. "Truth has a price. You still want it?" Yes, she did. But she was done playing polite. Back in her car, she dialed Max. He answered on the first ring. "I need you to trace an IP, one that connected to Marley's encrypted file, the one that gave her access to the Reyes settlement." "You got a name?" "June Heller, paralegal. I think she was helping Marley dig through sealed court records. She's missing now." Max whistled. "Another one? This case is cursed." Helena didn't answer. 10 minutes later, Max called back. "She's clever," he said. "Used a rotating VPN, but one node bounced through a home server registered to a law firm downtown. Harrington, Price and Webb." Helena frowned. "Not Winslow and Hart?" "Nope. This is a bigger firm. Old money. Big-name clients. My guess?" "Heller was working freelance and got access through someone inside that office." "Can you get me a list of attorneys there?" "I'll try, but they keep a tight lid." Helena hung up and stared out her windshield. The name Price stuck in her mind. Where had she heard it? She scrolled back through her notes until she found it. Martin Price, former attorney for Darren Mills in a business lawsuit from 3 years ago. Settled quickly. No press. just a few lines buried in the legal archives. So Mills had connections, money, lawyers, leverage, and silence. Helena arrived at Harrington, Price and Webb just after noon. She didn't call ahead. She wanted to see how they reacted to her name. The receptionist was young, polite, and visibly startled when Helena introduced herself. "I'd like to speak with Martin Price," Helena said, keeping her tone neutral. I'm sorry. Mr. Price is unavailable. He's in a deposition off-site." "When will he be back?" "I'm not sure." Helena nodded, then pulled out a photo. "Do you recognize this woman? Her name is June Heller." The receptionist glanced at it, then too quickly looked away. "I don't know her." "You hesitated." The girl swallowed. "I think she did some temp work. But that's all I know." Helena left a card. "Tell Mr. Price I'll be waiting to hear from him, soon." She turned, then stopped. "You have cameras in the lobby?" "Yes, ma'am." "Good. You'll want to preserve yesterday's footage, especially between 3 and 6 p.m. She walked out before the girl could answer. Reed called her later that afternoon. "Remember how you asked if Mills was being protected?" "Yeah." "We pulled his financials. You're not going to believe where he's been getting deposits from." "Try me." "An anonymous shell company, registered offshore, traced to a holding account tied to, wait for it, Harrington, Price and Webb." Helena closed her eyes. There it was, the missing link. Price had helped cover up Mills's past and possibly helped him disappear now. "Get a warrant," she said. "Subpoena everything," Reed exhaled. "That'll take time. These guys are lawyered up, and it'll trigger alarms. Then we don't wait." Helena returned to her office just after sunset, the sky glowing a bruised violet. She replayed the warehouse audio, listening again to the man's voice. Calm, measured, cold. Sometimes there's just damage, the same phrasing used by Price in a long-ago op-ed she'd uncovered about moral ambiguity in law. Same cadence, same structure. She pulled up the interview, watched him speak on a legal podcast years ago. It was him. He wasn't just helping Mills, he was directing him. Then her email pinged. A message from an encrypted sender. Subject line: "Final broadcast." She opened it. A single audio file. No text. She hesitated, then hit play. Marley's voice quiet. "Warn. If you're hearing this, I didn't make it. That's not drama. It's just the risk I accepted. Darren Mills didn't kill Emily out of impulse. He was warned, by his attorney, to clean it up, to avoid exposure. The school settlement was the first cover-up, but it wasn't the last. A pause. Then, Martin Price knew. He advised it, encouraged it, said it was containment. That silence protects reputation. Helena's blood ran cold. The rest of the audio was distorted, but the message was clear. This wasn't just about Mills. It was about the man who weaponized the law to shield him. Martin Price. Marley had been planning to release this. Someone had stopped her. Now, Helena had it. And someone knew. Her phone buzzed again. A new text. No number. "We warned her. You're next." Helena stared at the screen, and for the first time in years, she felt something like fear, but under it, fury. She reached for her recorder. Case note: Martin Price is no longer just a facilitator. He's a suspect, and I'm not backing down. Chapter 10. The Broadcast. Helena arrived at the downtown courthouse before sunrise. She had spent most of the night in her office, organizing evidence, time-stamping audio files, transcribing Marley's final message. Sleep was impossible. Fear had sharpened her thoughts, not dulled them. At 7 a.m., she entered the district prosecutor's office, carrying a flash drive, 2 affidavits, and a folder labelled "The Price of Silence." By noon, Martin Price was escorted out of Harrington, Price and Webb in full view of the press. Not in cuffs yet, but pale, quiet, and without comment, Reed met Helena on the courthouse steps. "They're not charging him with Emily's murder," he said. "I know. But obstruction of justice, suppression of evidence, conspiracy to cover up misconduct, that'll stick." "And Darren Mills?" "Still missing. But with Price exposed, he's lost his shield. He'll surface eventually." Helena nodded. "Or someone will flush him out." They stood in silence. Reed said, "You did it. You finished what Marley started." Helena looked past him, toward the grey skyline. "Not finished, just uncovered." That evening, Helena returned to her office and plugged in Marley's last file, the one titled "Final Broadcast, Clean Cut." She opened her editing software, cleaned the levels, trimmed the background hum, then uploaded the episode to Marley's podcast server. She paused at the title, "The Price of Silence." Below it, she typed, "This is the last episode Marley Quinn ever recorded. She risked everything to share it. And now you'll hear it in her own words. No edits, no cuts, no silence." She hit publish. Within hours, it trended. By morning, it had reached over 1 million plays. Helena read the comments without responding. Some outraged, some disbelieving, but many, many grateful. Marley's voice, calm and brave and unshaken, cut through the noise. The truth had come out. Even if the system hadn't delivered justice, the truth had found its way through. 2 days later, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside was a photograph. A gas station security camera still. Darren Mills, walking through a parking lot in Arizona, wearing sunglasses, beard grown out, carrying a bag. Someone wanted her to know he was alive. A second chance, maybe. A future hunt. But not today. Helena sat alone that evening, her office quiet. The sun dipped low through the blinds, painting the room in slanted gold. Her desk was scattered with old papers from the lock case, faded printouts of Emily Reyes's photo, and a notepad still open to her first line on the case. Start with the voice. She thought about Marley. She thought about Talia. She thought about how truth rarely arrived in one piece, but came fractured, half lost, buried beneath people's need for order, for comfort, for forgetting. Helena had never been good at forgetting. That's why she was still here. She closed the file. Her phone buzzed. Reed. "Thought you should know. Emily's mother just filed a civil suit against the school, against the firm, against Price." Helena smiled, just slightly. Truth wasn't enough, but it was a start. Later that night, she dreamed again. A hallway, a locked door, a hum. But this time, the door opened. Inside there was no static, no screams. Just a woman, Marley, standing by a microphone, smiling. "We're not done," she said. Then the light faded. Helena woke in silence, but not in fear. She reached for her notebook and wrote just 4 words. She told the truth. End of chapter and end of book. Like and subscribe to support our channel and to listen to more intriguing investigative stories.